I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, all my distracted friends, how are you today? I hope you are doing well, and I am glad that you took a few minutes to join us once again, hang out. I don't know where you are. You're in the car, you're on the treadmill, don't care. As long as you're doing something that you enjoy. So, hey, I'm going to continue from the last podcast. If you listened to that, if you did not, or you are new, I would like you to just go one back, because we are talking about one of the hallmarks of our ADHD brain. It's distractions, right? And I want to be clear that we can't solve all these challenges in some of these short periods of time. What I wanted to do on these 2 podcasts was just literally create a list of things that I know distract us busy adults with ADHD. We got a busy career, we got a busy family life, all of those things going on. And I just wanted you to hear something and go, oh yeah, definitely. I do that. That's a problem. And how do we correct it? So that is the goal of these podcast episodes, these 2 here. All right. So as you guessed it, we are going to talk about distractions again. And I know that if we understand there's a challenge, maybe sometimes we can't totally identify those, and that's the goal of this podcast. So, but let me say it again, as I did last time. If, we know we're distracted, so let's work on it, right? So last time I listed out some of the more common distractions that enter our ADHD lives. There should not have been anything earth-shattering in what I had to say, but I just wanted to get it out there for us to listen so we can be thinking about how to address these. And again, it's just like, you know what? I do have a bunch of these notifications that are completely unnecessary and affecting my work. I got to take a step back and fix this. I got to minimize them. That's my goal. I'm confident if we don't name these, we can't deal with them or develop any type of strategy to minimize them. So today I wanted to run through some of those less obvious distractions. You may not think of these as distractions, but when we kind of dig into it and you go back and think about it for a few, I think you'll agree that many of these things that I'm going to list out ultimately end up being distractions to what we ultimately maybe set out to do at the beginning of the day, or what have you. So let's dig right into it. Okay. So this is part 2. This is not so obvious distractions. I alluded to this during the first one, but hunger. I can tell you with absolute certainty that being hungry is a massive distraction. Not only are you thinking about, say, what you're going to have for lunch, but I know personally if I'm starving, I have a hard time thinking and getting work done. My brain just stops working. That's why I think it's super important to manage hunger as an adult with ADHD. This involves, I think, right off the bat, just getting a proper breakfast, all the way to even planning your meals out and not skipping lunch, which I know many of you do. I've talked to you. I know it. Some of you are skipping lunch. Okay? So here's the deal. This may be some bad advice, but I am far from a nut and berry type of guy. I have a majority of English heritage. So if you just sat me down with a large piece of meat or a turkey leg, I'd be the happiest dude on the planet. Okay? I'm not sitting at the fast food drive all the time either, but I do realize that being hungry is going to destroy my productivity. So there needs to be some type of balance. I know good nutrition helps with ADHD, but I'm going to leave that to others that know what they're talking about. All I can tell you is if I'm starving, I'm insanely productive. So try and plan ahead as best you can. Get a good breakfast. Maybe plan out your meals ahead of time during the week. Ziploc them, put them in Tupperware, what have you, okay? And take your lunch, because that's hugely important. All right, the next, maybe not so obvious distraction is perfectionism. Striving for perfection in every detail can lead to overthinking and delays, and guess what happens when we overthink? We get nothing done. I'm not suggesting you do a half-assed job to counter perfectionism. That's not what I'm saying. But many of us are striving for perfectionism when we just keep moving the goalpost. We get to the point where we don't even know what we're trying to get done at this point because we just keep, making the job bigger, right? This is what they talked about Parkinson's law, where work expands to the time allotted, right? And I know many of you where you're just sitting there and, if I just added this one little thing, I could get this done. For me, one of the best ways to counter perfectionism is to just have a goal you're comfortable with on a particular project. And if you can comfortably meet those goals and feel good about it, you might just be able to move on. I know it's more complicated than that. But you have to decide between, is this good enough? Am I confident in what I have done for this particular project, while not phoning it in? So again, I'm not suggesting that you just say, I just got to get it done because I don't want to be a perfectionist and then do a half-assed job, okay? So, and like I said, we're going to start to dig into these kind of individual topics in separate podcasts, but this should just give you kind of a quick little nugget to be thinking about and all of these things. Next is overcommitment. My God, talk about a distraction, right? Taking on too many responsibilities, it's going to not only spread your energy thin, but attention thin. You get too many things going on in your head. Overcommitting only leads to being distracted in what you actually need to be doing. And this is in so many areas. Your personal life, such as volunteering, or maybe you keep raising your hand in a meeting when you really shouldn't be taking on more work for some reason. Maybe that's the people-pleasing side of us. But the easiest and shortest answer I can give you to this is to just start getting good at saying no. We've talked about this a bunch of times. And if you think about it, it's one of the foundations of managing your time and energy is the ability to say no. So if you feel overcommitted, understand one, that's a distraction. And two, start testing your no. Next, lack of priorities. Failing to prioritize your tasks or things you need to do during the day is just, could result in spending less time on important tasks. I know this to be a fact. When we just sit there and spin our wheels in the morning because we haven't prioritized what we need to do or what is urgent, you're just in an endless loop of distractions. we've talked about procrastination and strategic delay, and that's where I think this comes in, where if we have a game plan, we know what needs to be done now and what can actually be scheduled out that's not super urgent. This is also kind of like perfectionism when we end up just getting nothing done because we didn't make a decision, right? So, like I said, this is why I'm a massive fan. We've talked about this before, writing down priorities the night before. I don't care where you do it. You can put it on a notepad in front of your keyboard on your desk. You can create a calendar invite with your priorities for that morning in it. We've talked about having a top 3, quote unquote, for the day. And many I've worked with individually have found this to be super effective. It sets your priorities. It's not totally overwhelming because it's like maybe 3-4 things that absolutely need to get done. And it's been effective for many of you. So, all right, next, lack of boundaries. We could go on. Actually, there's probably entire podcasts, like series of podcasts on boundaries. There's books, there's everything. But not setting clear boundaries can impact your focus during the work hours. And one of the best ways you can minimize distractions and actually get stuff done is to tell others that you are busy. And sure, it takes a little practice, but if you're afraid to do it, you're going to feel it because putting others over your own work is going to backfire sooner or later. If you need to get shit done, close your door, put a sign in your door, tell people you're unavailable, whatever it takes. Sooner or later, hopefully, people are going to get the hint and not just drop by and want to do an impromptu meeting or what have you. And guess what? Setting those boundaries and not being disturbed is going to minimize distractions. I could almost guarantee it. So putting up the busy flag can be one of the most effective ways to get stuff done without being interrupted. It's just going to take a little practice and laying out some expectations of others. You see a theme here. This is one of those parts of the podcast where I just reinforce being in control. And distractions are not going to disappear. So you need to take control of this to the best of your ability. All right, another not so obvious distraction is information overload. Being overwhelmed with excessive information, I think, can hinder decision making, right? And that's a distraction. We get overloaded with information for a number of reasons. First, we don't have the systems to put things in. For example, if you've got paperwork and notes and other things that just pile up on your desk, that's information overload because it's just staring you in the face. And it's just all this info staring at you and laughing at you, right? There's a ton of ways information overload can come into your life. Maybe it's back-to-back meetings, and then you get to your desk mid-afternoon and your head wants to explode, right? And this is another distraction because there is so much flying around in our heads that nothing gets done. We don't even know how to start shoveling out. That's why I think systems are so important, such as your digital filing systems and note-taking, maybe the proper use of a CRM if you have one in your job, in your business. Putting those things properly in, decompressing after a meeting and making sure you've actually accurately captured important information. This is where those like back-to-back meetings, sometimes I like them. Sometimes you just need like 15 minutes just to, download, so to speak. But again, I think we're going to do another podcast soon on information overload because it's a huge challenge for a lot of us. So, alrighty. Impromptu requests, huh? How many times people walk by your office or your cubicle or wherever you are and just ask you for stuff, right? I mean, unexpected tasks, last-minute requests, they disrupt our planned activities. Maybe we had a good game plan going in and then we let somebody interfere with it. So, and that is so frustrating. But it's a distraction. How many times do people come up to you and say, hey, do you have a minute? And sure, the nice side of us says, absolutely, because we want to please them. We want to make them happy. We don't want to make them angry. And then the ADHD side of us says, oh, shit, I did it again, right? I gave in. Because we know we're going to throw ourselves off track. And if you work in a restaurant or you're a customer service professional, I get it. It's your job. That might not be completely relevant to your situation. But if you're in a type of career where you need to get stuff done, deep work, you're working in an office, you're running a business, you're an entrepreneur, you need to get stuff done, that's where this becomes a problem, okay? Here's another example of the almighty word no. And there's no, there's different ways to say that. You can tell somebody you're in the middle of something and you'll get back to them. You don't have to snap at them. You can just be nice. You can be diplomatic. If you're really busy, maybe just ask them, hey, I'm in the middle of something. Can you just drop me a note as a reminder? I know now you got an extra email, but you gotta decide on the trade-off there. Do you want to get completely interrupted and thrown off track for the rest of the day, or do you want an extra email? You got to choose. So, okay, the last one, personal issues. Bringing your personal issues into, say, the workplace. I don't think many of us realize just how much our personal lives affect other areas of our life, especially our jobs and our careers, and personal concerns or unresolved issues can affect your concentration. You're always thinking of something else. And the list of things going on in your personal life can most likely be endless. If your home's perfect, congratulations. But I can't imagine that. So here's what I know from writing Overcoming Burnout. And you can find that on Amazon, by the way. Hint, hint. And working with some people that were burned out. It's not just overwork that burns people out. Many times people feel burned out before they even get to the workplace, right? Because there's just some challenges at home. There's a lot of things going on. And this is where being in control of other areas of your life, I think, can make a big difference. So what we have to do is realize that we can't always be in that response mode. It gets tiring. We've talked about this before. Say you have kids that have challenges, and you need to work on those. You need to be proactive. You need to address them in some way. Maybe get some help with that. Say you have an aging parent that you need to spend more time with. You'll need to be proactive in how you handle that as well. Other challenges that come up that are gnawing at you throughout the day. Your personal life and your professional life are to some degree closely linked. And if you're bringing the stress from home into work, then I would call that a distraction. So here's another thing. We talked about this. If your mornings are a dumpster fire, that's just setting the tone for the day. And you need to be in charge of that as well, because that is another form of bringing in the stress of home into the workplace. And if you got up late, you had no breakfast, coffee wasn't made, kids are late to school, blah, 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 then those are unresolved issues that are just bleeding into the workplace. So get ready the night before, and make the transition from wake-up time to the office much smoother. Develop a game plan. Figure out what you need to do the night before if your mornings are a train wreck. And that's another example of those things. So, all right, cool. I know many of you want more detail on some of these. I hope this got you thinking. We're going to start to pick away at some of these in more detail coming up on the podcast. But again, I just wanted to list these out. I just want you to take a step back and go, yeah, you know what? These things are distracting me, and I need to figure out how to minimize them, how to work with them, how to manage my energy, my time, all the things associated with being distracted. So if you need some help with that, you need a little bit of a game plan, we can schedule some time one-on-one. We can figure this stuff out. Just hit overcomingdistractions.com. click that little button that books a quick little 15-minute Zoom chat with me. Let's meet and let's see if we are a good fit. I hope I can help. All right, overcomingdistractions.com. I will catch you soon.